He was trampled on every day at school, even the girl he liked left with the bullies. But life was cruel. He met Truck Cohen and ended up reincarnating as Lucas Ryan, in a world where magic is. But Lucas became a genius at the academy, in a world where magic is supreme. On the magic continent of Arcanus, an annual event was about to begin. A man announced to the crowd that today they would perform the divine blessing. Children under 6 would offer their most precious possessions to the gods. If accepted, a divine messenger would be sent. He explained that this spirit would sense the child's magical element, granting them the chance to become a mage. A boy asked his mother if he could learn magic by offering a piece of candy, but she believed it needed to be expensive jewelry. A noble woman showed off her precious stone, claiming that the more valuable the offering, the higher the. A man commented he heard the Ryan family spent their entire fortune for this blessing. Another added it would be tragic if they weren't blessed after all that effort. Holt Ryan, the family head, knew he had gambled heavily on everyone's future. He was certain his children, Leica and Louis Ryan, would receive top-tier blessings. The master of ceremonies called the next on the list. The young girl approached and placed a small crown on the altar. A formation appeared on the ground, and the MC wondered what it could be. He questioned if this was the blessing of Kahai, the thunder god. It was level 7. 12 years had passed since they had seen such a high level. Her father celebrated his daughter's incredible talent, claiming their family had been chosen. The girl regained consciousness, not understanding what had happened. Her mother remarked that the offering didn't seem valuable enough to cost the family fortune. One guest reminded another that one child was still left, and he would offer the legendary treasure. Holt knelt before Lucas, telling him he was next. And the boy agreed. In the crowd, people reacted to the energy radiating from the blade. A figure manifested behind the boy, identified as Vulcanus, the fire god. His little sister wished her big brother good luck. The MC realized that by offering something so valuable, the Ryan family head was betting everything on the boy. Lucas walked toward the altar to make his offering. Outside, the sky changed color, and people wondered what was happening. The boy's father had never seen anything like it, and wondered if this was level 9. The youth stood in the center of the altar. Then, he noticed intense energy surging into his hand. Another figure was now holding the sword. Holt questioned if the blessing was over, and where the divine spirit was. His youngest daughter looked toward the altar. Lucas was repelled from the altar, falling to the ground where he remained motionless. The MC and his family called out to him. The MC stated that the god had rejected him. He declared that Lucas Ryan had been abandoned by the progenitor of magic, as the family supported him. Light descended from the ceiling toward someone else. In the realm of the fire god, a voice echoed with discontent. The entity was annoyed that the Ryan family had offered an ancient power. He observed the blade and swore he would never forgive them. One spirit noticed an otherworldly presence had entered the boy's body and asked if it should be removed too. The fire god replied there was no need to waste time on a being from another world. He turned to the other offering, calling it a fine piece. A soul found itself wrapped in energy. Within it, an eye opened. He focused on his goal. With a single movement, he overcame a barrier. A cosmic creature addressed him as the power source governing this world. The man simply asked if the creature sought to block his path to a higher dimension. A cosmic creature attacked with a blast, trying to contain him. But the man pressed forward and unleashed his energy directly. The impact easily overwhelmed the creature. He now faced a newly formed portal. The martial god stated that power source was nothing special. A small creature flew toward him, calling him Lord Martial God. He grabbed it, asking why his attendant spirit was obstructing him. Then he sensed that his old partner, Riku, was no longer present. The spirit showed an image, and he wondered what was happening on the Arcanus continent. He remembered that 1,000 years ago, martial arts were stronger, but now the fire god Volcanus. The spirit commented on the current situation. He had no interest in developing them. Yet, he acknowledged the duty to pass them on. A small being like him had to dedicate himself constantly to training. His presence then dissolved into a point of light. Putting his eyes, he questioned what that was. The boy remained lying in bed. The creatures introduced themselves as Mars and announced they would grant him a blessing. They continued to float around the youth's bed. Then, they all flew toward him. The boy reacted to their approach. He received the level 9 martial god blessing. Sitting up in bed, the youth questioned what that martial god and level 9 stuff was about. He remembered the spirits he saw were incredibly strong. He looked at his hands, wondering what was happening. Then he recalled the accident and questioned why he was here. He wondered if the gods were just messing with him. He realized he was in a new situation. Fearing this life would be difficult. But he still didn't understand what martial arts meant regarding the blessing he received. A lollipop fell to the floor beside the bed. The sound made him look toward the door. A little girl entered the room and called for her big brother. She ran and hugged him on the bed. The girl said she heard he would take a long time to wake up and was very worried. He comforted her, asking her not to cry anymore. He remembered Azusa, who must have been shaken by what happened. He then decided he would protect the people precious to him in this life. Counting on the martial god's help, an angelic statue stands prominent on an altar in the center of a grand hall. Suddenly, a dark liquid begins to weep from the statue's eyes. The stone figure cries the dark substance, offering up its stained hands. A woman remarks that the detestable man's presence has vanished. She wonders if he died or simply left this world, clutching a symbol on her chest. She laments having so little power left. She declares that with him out of the way, this world will soon be theirs. Lucas notices the weather has cleared and assumes Julia's training must be over. He decides to go meet her. But a massive thorn bush blocks his path. Suddenly, the thorns wrap around him, hoisting him into the air. Lucas wonders who would pull a prank like this again. Jeremy Ryan greets him as Lucas, the child abandoned by the gods. Behind him, a maid expresses surprise that Lucas hasn't been kicked out yet. Jeremy reminds Lucas that this backyard is reserved for the family's mages. He suggests that maybe Lucas will learn his lesson if he suffers some consequences. But Lucas warns him that his sister is finishing her magic training and will return any second. He advises Jeremy to let him go, unless he wants to get blasted by her lightning. Jeremy calls him a coward for hiding behind his sister, stammering that he's not afraid of a little lightning. At that exact moment, a bolt strikes him square in the chest. The maid screams for her master, who is now lying on the ground, smoking. Lucas turns to see Julia approaching the gate. Julia warns Jeremy that she won't go easy on him if he bullies her brother again. She puffs out her cheeks in a huff. Then she turns to her brother and says she'll get those thorns off him right away. Once down, he pats his sister's head and she smiles up at him. Lucas keeps his hand on her head and asks Jeremy if he's learned his lesson. Without a second thought, he turns and flees with the maid. Lucas comments on how fast Jeremy is running and notes that she went easy on him with that last shock. Julia asks why he didn't fight back since he could defeat him. He reminds her that his true strength is a secret between them. He pats her head again, saying she's there to protect him. And she readily agrees. As they walk toward the mansion, he reflects on the 9 years that have passed since he reincarnated. He recalls the day he woke up. Lucas' father, Holt, visited him, making him believe he'd be expelled for failing to meet expectations. Instead, Holt embraced him, saying he was just happy Lucas had woken up safely, even though Holt is a good father who genuinely cares about his children. When Holt discovered Lucas had started training in martial arts, he immediately sent a letter with useful information. The letter informed him that the family archives held ancient martial arts books that could help. Lucas descends a dark corridor, lighting the way with a candle. Thanks to that letter, he was able to put a certain audacious plan into action. Back in the present, a maid calls for young Master Lucas outside the mansion. But the other says not to worry. He'll be expelled soon anyway. Suddenly, the two maids are startled by something they see. Her companion suggests it might just be someone practicing earth magic. Meanwhile, deep in an underground cave, a fist smashes through a stone wall. Lucas steps back from the rubble, wiping sweat from his face. It should be enough to reach the archives. He spent 6 months digging to build this secret training ground, divided into a study area, a training zone and storage. He had to improvise a cheap tub for a bathroom since he spent all his money equipping the. He's trained here secretly every day since finishing it. Currently, he's relaxing in a medicinal bath, claiming it's the most efficient way to train martial arts. It's been 3 years since he started training with the chaotic tempering technique he found in the archives. He rises from the tub, revealing that now, magic attacks of level 5 or lower don't even. He turns to focus on offense. He approaches a training dummy, sword in hand, and executes a rapid series of strikes with the broadsword. He also trains with a long spear. Finally, he steps back from the training dummy, which is now completely destroyed. Having reached level 4 in his spear technique, he decides to practice his fist. His skills have steadily improved over the last 9 years, but one thing still bothers him. According to the books, martial artists hit a limit that can only be broken by achieving enlightenment. This enlightenment is so difficult to attain that most give up. That's why so few train in martial arts. He delivers a powerful punch straight into the barrel, causing it to completely explode on impact. He has reached level 5 in his fist technique. His levels just keep rising with no apparent limit. He realizes this must be what they call a divine blessing. Back in his room, he remembers Holt is returning home tonight for a family dinner. He walks down the hall toward the large dining room doors. Upon opening them, he finds his entire family already seated at the table. Holt greets him, mentioning it's been 6 months since they last saw each other and invites him to sit. Holt informs Lucas that the Allen Magic Academy is opening a special martial arts department and that he has. He acknowledges that martial arts are difficult, but knows Lucas can succeed. Lucas simply thanks his father. Lucas reflects that he needs to get stronger, but he can't stand out too much or he'll cause trouble. Julia then raises her hand and tells their father she wants to attend Allen Magic Academy with Lucas. Holt explains it's a good goal, but she's only 11. She reveals she has actually already received an offer for the elite class. Holt just stares at her, pondering this information. He comments to his wife that Julia's reputation as a genius must have reached the academy and that While Julia giggles, Lucas comments that it's amazing, leaving Jeremy visibly annoyed. A relative says they will pray for both to pass, but Jeremy asks why Lucas is getting special treatment. Suddenly, Jeremy is startled by a voice telling him to calm down. A hand touches his face and the voice repeats that there's no need to worry. Jessica Ryan, Jeremy's mother, reassures him, saying it's not guaranteed that Lucas will pass. A week later, the day arrived to leave for the Magic Academy. The family said their goodbyes at the estate gates. Julia's mother told them to take care. She promised to visit soon with their favorite pudding. Then, she reminded them not to forget the lucky coin their father had given them. The coin was from the Buan dynasty, 10,000 years ago. Holt showed them the coin. He explained that the engraved face was Mars, the first emperor. Lucas recognized him instantly. He told them to always keep it with them as a lucky charm. He felt lucky to have a good family in both of his lives. With a final wave, Julia said goodbye, and they finally set off. He said they should camp in the clearing ahead. Around the campfire, a man named Forden explained their schedule. Julia asked Mr. Forden if there was anything interesting in Daku City. He nodded, mentioning the annual Magic Dodgeball tournament. Mr. Ba. Forden added that the city was also famous for being a gastronomic hub. Lucas noticed his sister Julia was already drooling. He detected 12 horses and 13 people approaching fast, just 2 kilometers away. He asked Forden if there were bandits in the area. The man replied that the chances were low. His chaotic tempering technique had given him sharpened senses. With only 5 of them and a child in the group, he knew they needed to be careful. A mysterious group was coming quickly and they needed to get into formation. Forden couldn't hear anything and wondered what young Master Lucas was talking about. But he quickly changed his mind. He ordered the guards to ready their weapons immediately. He didn't know where Lucas got the information, but decided it was better to be safe than sorry. Just then, a group of bandits on horseback charged through the forest. The guards spotted the riders, confirming their presence. The bandit leader saw them. He celebrated that the boss was right about the place being full of nobles. One of them commented that the little girl and the boy next to her would yield a good ransom. Forden confronted them. He asked if they had any idea what happens to those who mess with nobles. The bandit leader simply ordered his men to attack everyone except the 2 children. The bandits advanced. One of the guards ran to provide cover for Mr. Forden. A bandit charged on horseback, raising his sword to strike. The bandit leader watched his companion fall. Forden entered the battle. He told Miss Julia to leave the situation to him, with a single blow. He rushed forward and took down several bandits. He turned and yelled for young Master Lucas to grab Juliet and run. Lucas turned sharply, hearing the sound of an attack. One of the bandits cast a fire spell on the remaining guards. The leader realized they had a mage. Surprising Forden. He shouted for the two to run into the forest while he took down another enemy. But a bandit attacked him from behind. Striking him, Lucas turned in time to see it and screamed Forden's name. He was wounded and surrounded by enemies. Forden prepared for battle. He declared he would protect the young master and the young lady. Even if it cost him his life, Lucas knew Forden was only a level 2 martial artist. Lucas wanted to keep his true strength a secret. But he couldn't. He remembered how Forden had been kinder to him than anyone else. He couldn't stand by and watch his family be attacked. He told Julia to hide. He knelt down and told her he was going to help Forden. Lucas ran toward the combat. Meanwhile, Forden exchanged blows with the bandit. Struggling to stay upright, the bandit leader raised his sword to deliver the final blow. Suddenly, the attackers fell. Forden looked back. The other bandits wondered what that was. Then, a barrage of projectiles took down several other men at once. A small flame formed in Lucas's hand. Defeating level 1 bandits was a piece of cake. Asking who the hell did that to his companions. He prepared one last attack. Screaming that he was taking the old man with him. A large fireball was launched directly at Forden. Knowing the children would live, he closed his eyes and thanked the heavens. But Lucas jumped in front of him to intercept the imminent attack. The youth advanced directly against the fireball. Forden watched him. After the smoke cleared, Lucas was standing there. The bandit leader was surprised to see his fireball completely negated. Lucas simply stated that he was already finished. With a single punch, Lucas charged and hit the bandit leader squarely. The impact instantly defeated the man. And Lucas landed on the horse. Smiling, he turned and said he seemed to have a talent for martial arts. Suddenly, a dark mass began to sprout from the ground behind them. The creature rose completely, revealing its skeletal face. Lucas stared at the thing in front of him. Jeremy jumped into the air toward the creature. He struck the monster's head with a blow. Elsewhere, a man punched the ground. Energy rushed through the soil from his fist. Chains emerged from the earth and trapped a man. A symbol manifested in the creature's eye. The monster opened its enormous mouth. Jeremy said that if his normal attacks didn't work, he would try another approach. Jeremy hit the monster with both hands. Lucas prepared to attack the creature. He hit the symbol in the monster's eye directly. The monster was completely disintegrated by the attack. Lucas stood still as the creature's silhouette disappeared. He fell to the ground exhausted while Julia called him, turning. Julia hugged him and asked if he had defeated all the villains. Jeremy watched the scene, wondering what had just happened. A horse neighed in the forest. Someone was mounted on the horse. In a cave, several men were imprisoned. Then, she stated that restoring her own power was the main priority. Back in the forest, Julia confirmed the girl's name was Maya Rasta. Lucas commented that he felt he had heard the name Rasta somewhere before. Sitting next to Maya, Julia said she had the same feeling. Lucas explained that the Rasta and Ryan families were noble houses living near Daku City. Julia finally remembered. Maya began to recount that a few hours earlier, bandits had suddenly attacked her carriage. In her memory, one of the bandits was laughing. She continued, saying her guards were defeated one after another. And her lady-in-waiting was attacked while trying to protect her. Maya explained that it didn't matter how many times she said she was a noble. She concluded by saying their goal was just to kidnap the children of nobles. Lucas told them everything was fine now, as they were all defeated. He remained silent for a moment. Gordon approached and informed the young master that Miss Maya and Miss Julia had gone to rest. Lucas called him over and asked for his opinion on what Maya had said earlier. Forden asked if he meant the fact that those bandits were professionals. He stated they had likely been targeting noble children for some time. Lucas added that they were bandits who could use magic, and had bizarre power too. Forden looked to the side. The young master concluded that there seemed to be a terrifying demon behind everything. Forden said he would report this to the master immediately. If they informed the Rasta family about Maya's situation, they would likely get their cooperation too. Lucas agreed and said he had a suggestion to avoid further trouble. The next day, in Daku City, Julia was surprised to learn they were canceling the plan to stay and tour the city. Lucas explained that some of yesterday's bandits might still be in the city. For safety, it was better to go straight to the Magic Academy. He asked her to try to understand, as it was for her and Maya's safety. Julia and Lucas sat together inside the carriage. Lucas looked at his sister. He promised Julia he would buy whatever she wanted to eat later. Maya commented on how well the two got along, and Forden announced they had arrived in the city. Julia and her brother stuck their heads out the carriage window. She was impressed by the view of the city streets. A man commented that this was the largest city after the imperial capital. Maya also looked out the window and said the place was very lively. Lucas observed the scenery. He stated that the atmosphere of that city was similar to the city where he lived in his past life. A man dressed as a clown appeared at the window and scared the girls. Lucas bought various breads and sweets for them. Maya offered one of the sweets to Julia. The boy watched the scene. Lucas reassured him, stating that he would protect Julia. The girl hugged him and said she would protect him too. He patted her head and said he was counting on the genius mage. Forden watched the scene. Maya commented that he had his little sister to protect him, finding him in. The butler watched the three walk away toward the gate. Lucas also reflected that he was happy to have met them. Maya looked at him. Back to the previous night, Forden suddenly remembered something. He revealed to Lucas that Miss Maya had once been his fiancée. But the engagement was broken off after the priest stated he had no talent for magic. Allen Magic Academy is one of the Sarmina Empire's top 3 schools. Every new student has to pass an entrance exam. The results decide which of the 4 departments they'll join for their 6 years of mage training. Lucas explains to Julia that exceptional students can graduate early by passing a special. He glances away for a moment. Julia says it's a shame. Lucas mentions that Maya already took her exam earlier with her family and is safe now. He encourages her to focus so they can join Maya as classmates. Julia agrees and asks where registration is. A bystander asks if she's really a candidate. Another comments on how young she looks. As Julia grabs Lucas's arm, someone else remarks they wish they had a sister like her. The woman introduces herself as Mina. Mina asks Julia if she came just to follow her brother, stating she's there to take the exam with him. Mina checks Julia's application, hypothesizing that she's the girl offered a spot in the elite class. She confirms the girl is Julia from the Ryan family. Mina replies that she'll find out soon and starts guiding her to the registration area. But the girl stops her, saying her brother needs to register too. She asks Lucas if he's there for the martial arts department. Voices in the crowd question the idea of a martial artist attending a magic academy. At Allen Academy, some mages look down on martial artists, comparing martial artists to nobodies. Lucas turns his head. She realizes she shouldn't have mentioned his department out loud. Their voice calls Lucas' name. Mina addresses him, inviting him to register so they can head to the exam hall. They arrive at a large hall packed with candidates. Mina instructs everyone to register with a student council member and hands out badges. With badges in hand, they are informed their exam numbers are stored within them. The exam has 3 parts: measuring magical potential, attribute compatibility. Lucas asks if the process is the same for martial arts candidates. Mina confirms the exam is identical for everyone. The young man shows his dissatisfaction with the explanation. He then declares he'll show everyone a martial artist's power and change their perception. At the potential measurement station, an examiner announces the start of the. The examiner watches Lucas approach the gauge. Suddenly, the man reacts, claiming he's never seen anything like this. A rare phenomenon. When he places his hand on the gauge, Lucas' result is low. The screen shows he'll struggle to enter even the martial arts department. He sighs. Next, another candidate approaches and places her hand on the gauge. 2 candidates react in surprise at her result. Ranking her as one of the year's best students, Lucas watches from the crowd. Thinking everyone is easily impressed, he tells Julia not to hold back today. And she confirms. The examiner watches as the girl concentrates her power on the gauge. The device in her hands begins to emit strong energy, filling the entire exam hall. The examiner announces the result is 10. Her talent is considered incredible. Another student took 2 years to reach that same level. She holds the gauge with the final result. Julia finishes the test and heads toward Lucas, calling for her brother. She hugs him, asking if it was good. He replies that she'll become an archmage one day. A spectator comments on the contrast between genius and lack of talent, but is. The young man advises him not to start trouble with a genius over someone with no ability. Julia shifts her stance, warning that she won't accept anyone mistreating her brother. For the last 3 years, all of Lucas' hard work had a purpose. Candidates gathered in a circular hall for the compatibility test. Elemental spirits of various natures suddenly appeared throughout the room, drawing everyone's attention. Julia stood in the center of the hall. Spirits of every element were beginning to gather around her. One candidate whined about not attracting any spirits. Another wondered if Julia had maximum compatibility with every element. Watching from afar, Lucas commented on her impressive talent. It was more than enough to pass the entrance exam. An examiner announced that Julia Ryan had the highest compatibility score of all. Immediately, a group approached her, praising her performance and asking to be friends. Julia ran and hugged Lucas from behind, calling out to her brother. Hiding behind him, she asked why those people were staring at her like that. He explained it was because she was a genius and she'd be getting a lot of looks like that from now on. He advised her to get used to it gradually. Julia declared she needed to become stronger to protect him. Lucas encouraged that attitude. He also planned to strengthen her mentality to handle the attention. He then noticed two men talking in the distance. One commented that Julia's talent could be royalty level, but her useless brother made him. The other recalled the guy's compatibility score was likely 0, just like in the previous test. Besides, all the spirits had recoiled from him in repulsion the moment he entered the hall. The man continued, mentioning something strange happened at the end of the second test too. He recounted that the moment Lucas left, part of a fire spirit just fell apart. His friend doubted the story, but Lucas and Julia walked past them at that exact moment. Lucas overheard the conversation and gave a slight smile. He then remembered what really happened during that test. As he walked through the hall, the fire spirits avoided him. Their attitude was particularly hostile, taunting him. When the test ended and he was leaving, one flew right at him. The spirit spat fire directly at him. So he picked up a small stone and threw it, dissipating the fire spirit's form in the process. He stated that a mere servant of the fire god had no right to act arrogantly around him. He then called Julia's hand and called her to head to the final test. He asked if she could get first place in the next one. The girl replied, yes, as long as he didn't go too hard. With a smile, the young man said he wouldn't get serious, since he planned for her to. They arrived at the magic destruction power test site. In the center of the arena, a large metal mannequin awaited the candidates. One candidate complained that the genius girl got first place again. Another doubted she could break the mannequin. He stated there was no chance she could do it. The mannequins were made of special metal with defensive enchantments. They could resist any attack below curse rank. Lucas observed the targets, commenting they looked tough. He clenched his fist. It was a good chance to test his level 6 skills. He concluded that getting to use expensive equipment made coming to this school worth it. Suddenly, someone shoved him in the crowd, telling him to stop pushing. A girl pointed at him and ordered him to get in line. She then turned to another candidate. She said useless people should get out of the way. The rule was the talent list go to the back. The candidate stared at him. She turned and acted with disdain. She stepped close to Lucas and Julia. She then asked Julia if she was the one who got a 9.6 on the compatibility test. Julia got scared and called for her brother. Lucas protected her while she said the other girl was scary. He asked who she was. The young woman introduced herself as Iowa Miranda, granddaughter of Duke Miranda. The Miranda family was one of the 3 great families of the Northern Empire. Besides being a clan that had produced a legendary mage, Lucas' mother also belonged to that family. He remembered his mother Catherine. Iowa replied she was 15, not understanding the question's purpose. Lucas warned her not to stare at him like that, revealing they were cousins. She declared she'd never heard of a cousin and decided to humiliate him in front of everyone. She then cast a spell directly at him. At the magic activated, she ordered him to perform a humiliating action. But the spell had zero effect on Lucas. The girl was perplexed by the situation. He then questioned the kind of education the Miranda family offered, using mental magic on a relative. Iowa couldn't believe her best magic failed. He asked if she really thought she could control a martial artist with that. An examiner called for the next one, Lucas Ryan, and he announced he had to go. Iowa pointed at the girl. She warned her not to get cocky because she would be first in this test. The list showed Julia Ryan in first place, followed by Iowa Miranda in second. He decided he couldn't let Iowa take first place from Julia to ensure his own quiet life. Someone then offered Julia candy. Julia tasted the candy and asked what it was and if it was good, then he slapped her back to help her. She coughed and called him a liar, complaining it wasn't candy but super bitter medicine. He explained it was a special magic potion and she would feel the effects soon. He was called to enter and ran to the arena, but Julia yelled that she didn't believe him anymore. He walked toward the metal mannequin where the examiner waited. The examiner instructed number 5 to attack the target with his full-strength magic for evaluation. But before starting, Lucas interrupted. He stated he couldn't use magic. He clenched his fist and asked if he could just hit the target. In the audience, a group of students mocked him, predicting he'd just break his hand. One guy then noticed Lucas's sister standing right next to him. She stated she wasn't attacking them only because her brother asked her to behave. Iowa turned to her and asked if her brother really couldn't use magic. But she asserted that he was still an amazing person and no one had the right to mock him. Her cousin observed her, believing there was a limit to a martial artist's strength and that Julia was just. Suddenly, a powerful impact echoed through the arena. Dust rose in front of the crowd. Iowa reacted to what just happened. She wondered what that was. 2 minutes earlier, Lucas had asked the examiner if just one hit would be enough. The man replied he didn't care how he attacked. Lucas then prepared for his strike. His martial arts skills grew exponentially every 3 levels. His strongest technique received a major boost at level 3. Now that the skill reached level 6, its power was on another level. He advanced with a high-speed punch. The target was the mannequin's head. The impact of the blow launched the metal mannequin backward. A cloud of dust spread through the arena. Lucas stared at the mannequin on the floor. Iowa watched him. She recognized his speed was comparable to high-level wind magic and his attack had the power of a curse rank. The other students reacted with surprise. She analyzed him on the screen, concluding he was hiding his real power. The examiner congratulated him with a perfect score. His name appeared on the scoreboard and he signaled to Julia. The girl celebrated his result. She was happy he managed to hide his strength and avoid a 0. As the exams continued, fewer students paid attention to Lucas's destructive power. But everyone was impressed by Julia's rare talent. She then gathered a large amount of power, surprising the candidates around her. Next, a spell circle formed at her feet. She then announced the descent of lightning. A massive lightning bolt was conjured and descended from the skies. Spectators commented that type of magic was ideal for attacking. The crowd reacted, impressed by the honor student's power, while one of them pointed to the arena. Julia was sitting on the ground. Other candidates wondered if the lightning hit her so hard she couldn't get up. She remained on the floor, not understanding what happened. The examiner announced Julia Ryan's score as 9.5 and called the next candidate. Back with Lucas, she explained she used the spell and a lightning bolt fell out of nowhere, which... The girl continued, saying that even at full strength, the lightning seemed more active than usual. He just watched her silently for a moment. The effect was caused by the potion he gave her, but Lucas decided not to tell her. In this world, both mages and martial artists had their own techniques for. His dedicated themselves to brewing potions, while martial artists refined elixirs. Magic potions required a medium, but elixirs made through refinement could be absorbed directly. In the past, various elixirs were created, but with the decline of martial arts, refining. Very few martial artists in the modern era could create the mage essence elixir that boosted Julia's power. This was because creating that elixir required the refinement ability to be at level 6. Currently, the only other person capable of such a feat was the level 9 martial artist, Duke Redisusan. Lucas decided to keep his level 6 ability an absolute secret to avoid trouble. While waiting on a bench, Julia asked if it wasn't over yet. Lucas replied they just needed to wait for the class assignments. Mina approached them, waving near a bulletin board. She explained she came to post the class assignments and congratulated them for getting first place. Julia celebrated the news that she was first in the elite class. Lucas congratulated her and she celebrated with him for passing into the elite class too. Then Mina asked Julia if there was any department she wanted to join next year, leaving her confused. Mina explained that the academy had 5 departments. The girl then deduced that, based on her attribute, she would probably go to the wind department. Mina then grabbed her and said she would wait for her in the wind department. Lucas noted that Mina was already recruiting people. Julia said goodbye to her brother, saying she'd see him later. Lucas waved goodbye, asking Mina to take care of his sister before heading to the martial arts department. The students announced that the class assignments were published. Julia Ryan got first place as expected. One student commented that the other freshmen were just extras to make the genius stand out. The final scoreboard showed Julia Ryan in first place in the elite class. Iowa swore that one day she would take first place from Lucas and Julia. Lucas already knew the martial arts department wasn't a priority, but he wondered if anyone could actually live in at least a place like that would be quiet enough for the peaceful school life he wanted. A guy approached him, asking if he was Lucas, the department's top-ranked student. He introduced himself as Kai Toroy from the same department and greeted him. Lucas ignored him and headed to the registration desk. As he signed the papers, Kai praised him for launching the dummy into the air, but Lucas just said it was luck. An older man handed over a key, saying his room was on the 2nd floor. Seeing the key was for room 205, Kai cheered that they'd be rooming together. The two walked down a rundown hallway looking for the room. Kai and Lucas were surprised to find someone else already inside. Along with his friend Collins, he said they'd all be roommates from now on. The room was in terrible condition. Kai questioned what kind of room this was. He reacted with disgust, claiming the place was worse than a pigsty. Then, startled by a spider, he asked Lucas if he really intended to stay in such a filthy room. Lucas just watched his reaction. 'The boy showed a coin. As Sharp and Collins cleaned, Lucas watched the scene. Kai approached and tried to reassure him, saying living conditions should improve. An older man knocked on the door, announcing he was there to deliver uniforms. He informed them the entrance ceremony was about to start in the hall, so they needed to change and head over. Kai reacted indignantly to the uniforms, complaining he'd look like a beggar if he wore them. The man explained the school had a request system to improve student treatment. He suggested a request could even result in changing the uniform. With this new information, Kai hurried to the hall. They arrived at the academy's main hall. Wearing the new uniform, he entered the grand hall. He observed the structure of the place. His roommates were also impressed, but Kai claimed it was nothing compared to his house. He searched for Julia in the crowd. The girl was sitting in the first row, and the elite class uniform was next level. Kai warned him that their department's seats were the furthest away. In the back. Lucas decided not to go, saying the uniform looked better on Julia. A student complained the seats were too far, questioning if there was discrimination against the martial arts department. Lucas sat in his seat while a girl next to him watched him. A flower of fire materialized in someone's hand. Floating on stage with his level 6 ability, he said the new students should feel honored. He continued his speech, introducing himself as the student council president. Back on the ground, Theodore Palomel announced he would present the school's point system. Female students in the audience reacted to his presence, calling him a genius. Lucas watched him silently from his seat in the back of the hall. Theodore explained that at Allen Magic Academy, the point system was the basis for almost everything. He detailed that magical abilities, books, tamed beasts, and even guidance from great masters could be. There were various ways to get points, but manual labor earned very little. It was much more efficient to earn points by participating in department events or guiding freshmen. Lucas then understood why Mina was helping them. Theodore concluded by saying that becoming a student council member guaranteed a stable income of. Lucas listened intently to the speech. Theodore continued, revealing that, although risky, there was also monster hunting. He explained that behind the school lay the magical Beast Mountain Range where students could hunt them for points. Hearing the name of the mountain range, Lucas clenched his fist. A smile appeared on his face as he realized it was a training ground tailor-made for him. A few hours later, night fell over the academy dorms. Inside one of the rooms, a young man slept soundly in his bed. Incense burned slowly, keeping the room's occupants asleep. Lucas Ryan sneaked out, revealing the tranquility incense was used so he could go to the home of the. He remembered the martial arts department building was at the back of the campus. So Lucas concluded the magical beast's home was right behind that wall. The boy landed on the other side in wild territory. Lucas advanced through the forest while some creatures chased him. He jumped and delivered a downward kick to a monster appearing in his path. His foot struck the creature's head with precision. The body's impact against the ground kicked up a large cloud of dust. The creature remained motionless inside a small crater. One of the monster's horns snapped from the force of the blow. From atop a tree, Lucas identified the creature as a giant black horned toad. Holding the horn, Lucas explained that because they were poisonous, they were used for magic potions and should be worth a good amount of points. He remembered hearing that Allen Magic Academy had some legendary martial arts books in. Watching the mountains, the boy stated he didn't have much time and needed to first identify the monster's locations. Then he covered one eye to activate an ability. His perception expanded over a vast area of the forest. A level 1 giant rat opened its maw to attack him, but Lucas hit it with a blow and next, he punched a level 2 two-eyed bat and dodged the attack of a level 3 magic. Small explosions echoed throughout the forest. Satisfied, Lucas commented that he got a great result, with materials that could be used to refine elixirs, and while dragging a heavy sack, he realized the place was too quiet. He touched the ground and noticed almost no traces of other magical beasts. Lucas wondered if this meant a powerful creature lived nearby. Then Lucas knelt to concentrate and feel the area around him. He felt a presence coming from a trail in the forest. A dark emanation emerged from inside the hole. With a smile, Lucas said he found it. He leaped through the trees, realizing the creature a kilometer away had also noticed him. The young man left his sack of items at the cave entrance. A huge level 6 fire and ice wolf emerged, snarling at him. Lucas understood that being a wolf, it made sense for it to be so territorial. The beast charged with its mouth open to attack. Fist clenched. Lucas then landed a punch on the wolf's paw, and the creature retaliated with a powerful blast of ice. Lucas blocked the attack, covering his fist with ice. He then shattered the ice and landed a direct punch to the creature's face. With the wolf stunned, Lucas leaped back, holding a piece of ice. Standing over the fallen creature, he lamented that if he had trained more, he would have caused. Lucas provoked it to get up, saying the fight wasn't over yet. The wolf rose again and concentrated a sphere of fire in its mouth. Then it fired an immense blast of flames. Amidst the flames, the creature stood its ground. The wolf howled to the sky, releasing its fury, but Lucas appeared beside it, unharmed by the attack. The boy prepared another blow while the beast stared at him, and landed a powerful punch to the impact of the blow stunned the creature. Then the wolf fell to the ground, finally defeated. Lucas watched the fallen animal and commented on its rare ability to freely control. Even wounded, the wolf stared at him. The creature's eye revealed an unusual pattern. With eyes shining in the dim light, Lucas stated that this was a very rare magical beast. The beast unleashes a simultaneous blast of fire and ice from its maw. He stares down the beast's dual elemental attack. Lucas spots steam rising where the opposing elements collide. A swift attack grazes him. The wolf seizes the distraction to escape. But Lucas leaps after it, yelling that he won't let it get away. He manages to snag the wolf's tail. With a powerful spin, he hurls it into the air. Holding a clump of fur, Lucas remarks that fighting a giant magical beast is good practice, and it must be worth a lot of points. Suddenly, a look of surprise crosses his face at something he sees. Their identical wolf appears and attacks the creature he was just fighting. Lucas leaps backward, dodging the assault. Meanwhile, the other attacks from above. The first wolf intensifies its fire attack. Lucas dives toward the ground, yelling at them to quiet down. He slams his fist into the ground, generating a massive shockwave. His clenched fist trembles with the force of the impact. The two wolves pin him down and he wonders if this is where he'll be defeated. He concludes he has no choice but to use his last resort. Two enormous paws slam into the ground where he just was. He looks up, eyeing the new threat. An even larger wolf lands right in front of him. Lucas wonders if those are beast cores. In this world, some magical beasts are born with a core containing all their power. If a human's vital energy touches that core, the creature becomes their tamed beast. So, Lucas asks if the wolf wishes to become his servant. Smiling, the young man affirms that he accepts the proposal. Not even mages usually possess a level 6 tamed beast. Proud magical beasts would never submit to a mere human. Lucas then performs the necessary ritual. He transfers a little of his energy to the two cores. The creature absorbs them into its body. Surprised, Lucas hears a voice calling him master. He looks around, trying to find the source of the voice. The wolf reveals it's the one speaking, and Lucas realizes he can understand the creature. Lucas calls him a good boy and decides to name him Yule. The beast agrees. He then wonders if Yule's territory now belongs to him, and if there's any good loot from its hunts. The wolf looks to the side with a determined look. The wolf rubs its snout against Lucas' face affectionately. Yule beckons him to follow it to its treasure. The pair venture deeper into the cave's depths. The stench makes Lucas cover his nose. They find a pile containing the hide of a level 6 magical beast, the remains of an ancient creature, and even he's surprised to realize it's literally a treasure trove. But Yule corrects him, explaining that isn't his treasure. The items left by past adventurers near the remains are the master's treasure. Then, the creature guides him to a collection of beast cores, all level 3 or. The wolf explains that it ate all the cores with water and fire attributes. The narration reveals that to level up, a beast must consume a core from another. This means Yule defeated at least 2 opponents as strong as himself. Lucas congratulates him on a job well done and gives him a reward. Yule seems invigorated after consuming the item. Lucas explains it's a healing potion that also works on magical beasts and tasks him with recovering and Yule enthusiastically accepts his first mission. A discreet smile forms on his lips. The following day, the sun illuminates the academy's imposing classroom building. Lucas and Sharp enter the room, where IWA Miranda is already seated. Yawning, Lucas comments that despite pulling an all-nighter, he doesn't feel tired thanks to the sleep incense. He recalls trying to count his treasure, but Yule wouldn't stop bothering him. The clock on the wall indicates that the class is about to begin. The martial arts department classroom remains almost empty. Sharp wonders where the teacher is and why no one else is there. Kaitarwa suggests the administration might have forgotten to assign them a teacher, but Lucas finds that unlikely. Shuffling footsteps echo from the hallway. A man stumbles inside, kicks a bottle, and complains about feeling hungover. Sharp watches the scene, but Lucas maintains a neutral expression. The newcomer leans against the door, introduces himself as Shigert, head of the martial arts. Lucas watches him silently. Shigert scrolls his name on the chalkboard. He turns to the class, holding up a small book. Kaitarwa stares down the teacher. He demands to know if this guy is really their professor, noting he certainly doesn't. With a blur of motion, Lucas strikes him. Kai sits down, stunned by the sudden action. The professor announces roll call. No one leaves without permission. He calls for Tishy, who answers, "Here, next is Lucas." After Collins answers, Shigert calls for Sharp, "Silence." The professor snaps the book shut and declares everyone present. He appoints Tishi as class representative to fetch them. The professor confirms it's her. He boasts that with his family background and skills, he should be the one chosen. Then something smacks him in the face. Shigert gestures with his hand, reminding him he already gave a warning. He reiterates, no speaking without permission. He instructs Tishi to hand out the books for self-study, then leaves the room. The young woman realizes this is her chance to change her fate. Kai complains about the professor. Lucas notes there's definitely something off about the man. Kai suggests reporting him to the administration. He tells Kai he never agreed to complain. Kai questions his attitude. A few hours later, outside the cafeteria, Lucas decides a strong, mysterious teacher makes. Outside, Kai greets a classmate and gripes that they only had self-study because of. He keeps ranting about the master's irresponsibility until Julia calls out to her. Lucas pats her head, asking about her first class, and encouraged her to run for class representative next week. She asks if the martial arts department chose one yet. And if it was him, smiling, Lucas replies it wasn't. Lucas invites them to lunch, mentioning he heard the food is good. Julia runs ahead excitedly, leaving Kai behind, yelling for them to wait. At Allen Magic Academy, even meals are part of the point exchange system. New students can only exchange cash for points once. The elite class is a great teacher. Julia tries the food and tells her big brother to eat up. They both paid 1 coin. A staff member tells him to leave if he has a problem. Kai realizes even the staff openly discriminate against martial arts students. She asserts that untalented students must work hard and save points. Kai feels like a good teacher. She asserts that untalented students must work hard and save points. Kai feels like he lost his rights just by enrolling here. Touched, he calls her a sweet, gentle girl. As Kai sits near Lucas, Maya Rasta approaches their table. Smiling, she greets Lucas and Julia, saying they meet again. Julia invites Maya to join them. But the young woman declines with thanks, saying she already ate. Instead, she offers cookies she baked to thank them for their help the other day. Lucas tries a cookie and compliments Maya, saying she's a great cook. The young woman smiles at the praise. Kai leans into Lucas and asks for a cookie. He compliments the sweet and introduces himself as Kai Tarwa. Lucas just watches the interaction. Lucas comments that the cafeteria is a terrible place to meet people. Mina approaches their table and asks if the food is good, greeting Lucas shilly. Suddenly, Theodore Palomel descends from upstairs using fire magic. The boy shows off, floating through the cafeteria. After landing, Theodore sits on a bench to rest. He looks to the side, noticing something. He watches Professor Shigert walking away, drinking from a bottle. The man takes another swig, then he leaves the cafeteria and walks across the. Shortly after, Shigert opens a door. One says he thought taking over the martial arts department would straighten him out. The other replies, you can't blame him after what happened. A blonde woman stares at him from across the room. She watches him with a serious expression. Someone taps their fingers on the table to get attention. An older man announces the agenda, the magical beast taming tournament. It's an annual tradition in the Karmana Empire for all Allen Magic Academy. An instructor reports they have already prepared over 2,000 level 1 magical beasts for the event. It will be held in 6 days, just like every year. One professor suggests the martial arts students should just sit it out. He slams his hand on the table. The professor justifies himself, saying he was only thinking of the students. An instructor interrupts to agree with Mr. Shigert. She asserts that as long as they are freshmen, martial arts students must be required to participate. Another teacher agrees, stating all students should be treated equally. The man wonders why there are still professors who side with Shigert, especially Linda. Shigert and the instructor stare down the professor. He yields to their insistence, but claims the students will just end up scared. The martial arts department will participate. The dissenting professor leaves the room. Another instructor approaches Linda, asking if she's sure about this. He explains that while martial arts require real combat, the taming tournament might be too harsh for them. Linda just offers a faint smile. She remembers something someone told her long ago. Shigert asserts that a coward cannot call themselves a martial artist. Any student who refuses to participate in the tournament will have to leave the department. It is announced that the Magical Beast Taming Tournament will be held in 6 days. The professor informs the class that after the lesson, they will have practical combat training so. Kai Tarwa questions the point of participating. The tournament is just to choose a class rep, and they already have one. The professor tells the student to be quiet. Class is starting. Outside, the students begin training. During training, a female student is shoved against a wooden pillar. Tishi readies her combat stance. One student comments to another that everyone passed the entrance exam so they aren't that bad. Tishi attacks with a kick that kicks up the dirt. Lucas dodges a classmate's attack, sending the attacker stumbling backward. Shigert raises a bottle and announces it's late, ending the day's training. Kai Tarwa sits on the ground, saying it's finally over. Kai asks if he made another deal. He explains he traded a coin for food. Sharp asks why he wasn't informed about such a good deal. Collins apologizes and promises Sharp he can have the next one, which Sharp readily accepts. Lucas watches their interaction. Kai approaches Lucas, asking if he isn't very bright. He puts his arm around Lucas, offering to teach him for free. Lucas smiles and thanks him for the offer, but declines. Kai then remembers Lucas has a sister in the elite class and doesn't need to worry about points. Later that night, Lucas reflects that Kai got it all wrong. He asserts that even without Julia, he doesn't worry about food. Nature's bounty is right here. He prepares to cook a large piece of meat. Sitting by the fire, he thinks he could use dinner time for training if he didn't have to. He remembers how the vice president, Mina, tried to get close to Julia today. He decides that if she has the slightest bad intention, he will stop her. All's tail wags behind him, making him turn. All appears and watches the roasting meat. Lucas offers the meat to All, telling him to eat up. Lucas then warns that after eating, All will help him train. Their training takes place in the forest. While at the Ryan family estate, a woman sits alone on a balcony at night. He asks if she is thinking about the children again, and she confirms it. He comments that their classes have probably started by now. Holt suggests she should go visit them if she misses them so much. He offers to take her, since he needs to pass through Daku City for work. She thanks him for the offer. The woman expresses her happiness at being able to see the children. At Count Grendo's house, several hooded figures gather in a grand hall. 3 masked members observe the surroundings. A green-haired woman welcomes Jessica, saying she is happy she could make it. Jessica Ryan, wearing a mask, observes the hostess. Jade Dream, a special drink. Jessica takes an offered goblet containing a liquid. The green-haired woman picks up a small vial containing a rare essence. She adds a few drops to the mixture as the finishing touch. She tells everyone to enjoy. Then she announces the start of the day's activity. Jessica remains seated, observing the scene. Goblet in hand. Jessica questions how an 11-year-old girl destroyed the Black Wind group. She explains that Julia received a level 7 blessing. The hostess comments that the girl inherited the talent of both the Catherine and Miranda families. But the green-haired woman insists a mere level 7 shouldn't have been able to defeat them. She grabs Jessica's ear, saying her daughter's efforts won't bear fruit. The hostess lifts her chin. Jessica agrees and asks what she must do. The green-haired woman just smiles. The hostess remarks that the moment a young sprout withers is truly beautiful. Tishy mentions hearing they have more practical combat training that morning, but some students complain there. Calling Mr. Shigert a monster, she admits it hurts but says it's to get stronger. A classmate questions her. Lucas and Kai, however, claim to feel no pain at all. Then Kai brags about being the strongest in the class, backed up by his friends. Lucas just watches the scene from afar. Tishy notes the 4 of them seem fine and concludes they'll become great martial artists. Kai charges into combat, yelling for them to start. Kai watches his hand being stopped. Then Lucas attacks him with a palm strike. With a single blow, he sends Kai and the others flying back. Kai praises him, saying that wasn't bad at all. Lucas replies that he wasn't either. Lucas watches the other students training from a distance. An elderly man is meditating under a large tree. Seizing the distraction, Kai attacks him, yelling that he left an opening. But the attack fails, and he's thrown to the ground. Because they'll fight until there's a winner. The old man gets up and leaves. But he refuses the company. The director calls him a fascinating young man. He realizes the boy is hiding his true strength. He decides he'll remember the name Lucas, since even he can't assess his abilities, while Kai celebrates the victory. Several hours later, class finally ends. He recalls that in the afternoon, Mr. Shigert taught massage techniques, saying it was important for everyone to learn. A classmate of Lucas massages Sharp, who says that's exactly the right spot. Lucas reflects that the effect was incredible, and now it's time to progress in the new training field. He decides to first go buy the materials he needs for it. The Allen Magic Academy Magic Supply Store has a large selection of rare products. He enters the place and compares it to a mall. A high-quality mannequin costs 30 points, and like everywhere else, he has to pay. He realizes the selection is great, but everything is very expensive. It looks like he'll spend 1,000 points a month. He'd feel bad if she lost her lunch money. For today, he decides to buy just the magic potion to mix into his bath. The shop clerk is dozing at her desk. She lifts her head and wakes up. Lucas approaches the counter and asks for the item he wants. He uses his card to make the payment. The woman notices from his uniform that he's a martial arts student and is spending half. The clerk confirms the 5-point payment and hands him the product, and Lucas thanks her. She questions if he can really use all that, warning that he'll regret it if he wastes. But he replies that he doesn't think it will be enough and that he'll come back to buy more. The clerk concludes he's a noble, since martial arts students don't have potion classes. She leans back in her chair, complaining that this is why she hates nobles that night. Lucas relaxes in a hot bath. He reflects that mixing the potion into the bath doesn't make the medicinal effect disappear and that it would be a waste to. He then considers that he can't make someone else drink his bath water. UI emerges from the darkness behind him. Lucas gets out of the bath, satisfied, and decides he'll grab some. He resolves to stick to common level 2 materials so as not to attract attention, but a creature. He turns around. UI is drinking the bath water, and Lucas asks him what he's doing. Hiding behind the barrel, Lucas asks if UI drank all the water. Lucas then steps out of the tub, saying it doesn't matter, since that will strengthen UI's body too. UI thanks him and asks for meat too, so Lucas calls him a glutton, commenting that he plans to trade the materials for points in 3 days and hide the tools near they. The shop clerk sees him carrying a heavy tool and offers magic help, but he refuses. She waves goodbye, calling him a blessed child. Sigurd reminds everyone that the taming tournament is tomorrow and asks if they're taking it seriously. He tells the students not to slack off. They can quit and go home if they don't want to train. The teacher points out that Sharp's leg is too high, leaving him vulnerable, and then turns to Kai. He questions Kai's weak punch, but the student retorts that he already beat Lucas, Sharp, and Collins. The teacher hits Kai and then asks the other 3 if they really lost to that guy. Lucas, Sharp, and Collins confirm that they did. Sigurd puts his hand to his face, complaining that this is why spoiled nobles are a problem. He then instructs Tichy to fight Kai, and she accepts. Kai warns he won't hold back. He'll prove he's the fittest to be the class representative. Tichy simply invites him to start. He advances with a kick, yelling for her to take the hit. Kai smiles during the attack, but Tichy hits him in the stomach, making him recoil from the impact. Her arm moves quickly. She blocks his punch with her leg, and asks what he thinks of that. Kai reacts to her counterattack. With a single blow, Tichy launches him away. Kai lies on the ground with a mark on his forehead. He immediately blocks her strike and yells not to be underestimated. Tichy then prepares another palm attack. With a single blow, she launches him away again. Lucas watches the defeat, and comments that now he understands why the teacher made. Sigurd orders everyone to take training seriously. The teacher warns that tomorrow everyone must tame at least one magical beast. He threatens to expel anyone who fails from the martial arts department. Sigurd announces, this is the final stretch, and they will fight with everything they have until sunset. Lucas helps Kai up from the floor. He tells Kai his defense is a mess, but he'll be fine if he corrects that bad habit, but Kai denies it. He declares he thinks he's in love with Tichy. He explains it was the first time he was defeated by a girl, and he's already thought of names for their children. The next day, the students are instructed to enter the gate in an orderly fashion. Kai comments that the place is huge. He wonders how many magical beasts are there, starting to get scared. Two students from another department mock the martial arts students, saying they'll be destroyed immediately. Shigert tells his students to use the time to memorize the tournament rules instead of worrying about useless thoughts. Lucas sits next to his teacher in the bleachers. Kai admits he's getting nervous, but Lucas advises him to pretend the magical beasts are Mr. Shigert. Lucas explains that they're weak. The idea gets him pumped, but Shigert warns them. He can hear every word they're saying. Lucas reminds him that a low-level magic beast can't break his defense. Kai promises not to make that mistake again. Shigert watches Lucas give sound advice. Julia announces the start of the tournament. The announcer explains the rules. Taming 10 magic beasts earns a perfect score. Julia enters what appears to be a barrier space. She wonders how so many magic beasts could fit inside such a small hut. Two large beasts with razor-sharp teeth appear right in front of her. She assumes everyone else is at the back of the hut and readies her attack. Casting a spell, she declares that she's caught the cute little magic beast. Her attack strikes the creatures. The announcer explains that when a beast submits, vibrant smoke will emit from its body. This allows professors outside the barrier to track each student's progress and assign grades. A professor observes the tournament's progress. She calls for the next competitors to prepare. She thanks him. Then, she asks for the location of the martial arts department's competition so. The man informs her it will be at Site 10, the very last one. She decides to grab a snack while she waits. The girl walks off down the hallway. Iowa Miranda watches. She wonders if Lucas Ryan will achieve the same results he did during the entrance ceremony. 2 hours later, a student worries about only getting 1 point. He explains that except for the elite class, all the mages only managed 1 point. Kai wonders if they'll be able to stay in the martial arts department. In terms of raw power, they aren't any weaker than the mage classes. He tells the students not to sell themselves short. No one was injured because a level 1 magic beast can't hurt a human. The professor asserts that they are stronger than low-level mages in close combat. He urges them to have more confidence. The students comment on how weird it is that Mr. Tishy walks up. She confirms that she went to check. Tishy explains that most students are just exhausted from draining their mana. She also reveals an important piece of information she discovered. She reveals they're using barriers to restrict beast movements, which stops students from getting surrounded. She advises that if a student can't win, they should just run. The students thank her for the intel. Shigert reflects that choosing Tishy as representative was the right move. A professor remarks that he heard a vile student spying on their class. He says that when you lack talent, the only option is relying on cowardly tricks to survive. Shigert asks what he wants. Greg replies that he came to warn them. He adds that the students had better try their hardest, or the entire department might get shut down. The professor just remains silent. It never should have been created in the first place. Lucas watches him go. Lucas stands up. He asks if he's going first. However, he offers Lucas the option to let someone else go if he's nervous. Lucas refuses the offer. just as he planned. Lucas asserts that he will definitely get a good score to show up everyone who despises the martial arts department. His classmates cheer him on, shouting that they'll show everyone what they're made of and put on a show. Professor Shigard notices their attitude shift. A student reminds them not to forget what Tishi said. 10 minutes later at Site 10, Lucas finds himself in a dark and foggy arena. Ready for action. Perception magic circles form in the sky. He runs along the barrier so no one will know what really happens inside. An explanation reveals that when a magic beast recognizes a master, their souls connect. This allows for communication and temporary use of their abilities. Meanwhile, a white wolf gnaws on a bone. He lifts his head, questioning his master. Why use his power when the master is already stronger? Back in the arena, a wolf's paw materializes and attacks. With the wolf spirit beside him, Lucas states that subjugating low-level magic beast is easy. But a massive owl flies straight at him. The owl advances, attacking with its talons. But Lucas intercepts it mid-air with a spectral wolf's paw. He strikes it, stating that to make taming easier for other students, it's best to break their will to fight first. The beast crashes to the ground. He approaches, saying Lil's power is useful. The presence of a high-level beast should be enough to intimidate the lower-level ones. The creature falls into a trance. He declares he can't let the potion smoke leak until he's tamed every beast in the area. The owl remains on the ground, now subjugated. He says goodbye and leaves. The owl states it never wants to see him again. Outside the arena, the scoreboard shows Lucas Ryan still has 0 points. Kai despair, seeing that half the time has passed. Julia insists that since she got a perfect score, she knows her brother can too. Holt Ryan watches the students from afar. Greg comments that having 0 points means he can't even beat the lowest level magic beast. He adds, that's the difference between a martial artist and a mage. Julia yells at them not to mock her brother. She asserts he's amazing even without using magic. Holt Ryan grumbles that defending a martial artist makes her just as blind as Professor Linda. Greg tells her to say whatever she wants, but the results speak for themselves. Suddenly, a notification announces that Lucas Ryan has acquired 1 point. Kai and Tishi celebrate. At least he'll get to stay in the martial arts department now. A professor approaches, questioning why they're so happy with a single point when his class is highest. But then the points keep ticking up to 2, 3, and 4. He can't believe the useless martial arts department matched his best student's score. Back in the arena, Lucas steps on a giant serpent. He notes that with all the beasts intimidated, his classmates can rack up points. He decides he just needs to grab his perfect score and get out of there. Then, a lion-like beast appears before him. Lucas quickly defeats a series of magic beasts, reaching his 9th victory. The little owl realizes he actually came back. Greg remains silent and starts to sweat. Julia celebrates, exclaiming that that's her big brother. A voice over the loudspeaker questions if the martial arts department really just scored a perfect 10. He pats Julia on the head. She beams, saying she knew her big brother could do it. He insists it's impossible for a martial arts freshman to tame 10 magic beasts. He spins toward Lucas, accusing him of using a ringer. Shigert steps in, grabbing Greg's hand. He states firmly that the boy did nothing wrong. He asks if Greg is implying that he accepted a bribe to allow cheating. Greg realizes he forgot about the proctors, antagonizing them would be a huge problem. He backs down, explaining he just found it suspicious that the student got a perfect score when the training. The proctor decides to investigate the barrier space anyway. Kai complains that they're making a mockery of the judging. Lucas calms him down, telling him to just let them do whatever they want. The young man asserts he has nothing to hide. The barrier lowers. Deciding to escape, they fly straight out of the arena. Suddenly chains snare the owl. A proctor notes the beasts seem very agitated, but they aren't weakened enough to need relocation. He asks his colleague if he genuinely believes the student earned a perfect score legitimately. The other proctor replies that he found nothing, but something must have happened to the magic beasts. He agrees to send the 10 beasts for a detailed inspection and resume the tournament. No issues were found during the inspection. The next competitors need to prepare. Lucas notes that even though they found nothing, they still don't believe in his abilities. But he adds to himself, the real surprise is just beginning. Determined, Tichy declares she can't lose to Lucas either. She attacks the beast with a flurry of strikes. If she can't make it submit in 30 seconds, she decides she'll switch tactics and head for the gate. Tichy kicks the wolf away. The beast recognizes her aura as similar to that monster's and wonders if he is still nearby. Tichy clenches her fist with determination. She strikes the wolf again. The girl wonders how a level 3 black wolf submitted so easily. She looks at her hand, questioning if it was just a coincidence. Tichy smiles, considering that maybe the martial arts department isn't so weak after all. Her score starts climbing rapidly as she defeats beast after beast. Outside, Kai shouts encouragement while Professor Shigert looks on. She keeps fighting, racking up even more points. With a single blow, she defeats her final opponent. A notification announces that Tichy Himaro has achieved a perfect score of 10. Kai celebrates, surprised she was faster than Lucas, and wonders what is going on. Leaving the arena, she reflects that the beasts weren't that scary. Being a martial artist doesn't make them weaker than mages. In the third match, a student attacks a bat-like creature. The creature is slammed into the ground. Collins gets a perfect 10, defeating his opponent with a dagger. Next, in the fourth match, Sharp kicks a large ape-like beast. In the fifth match, Kai Teruo punches a saber-toothed tiger. Kai celebrates his perfect 10 score against the animal. The scoreboard shows that Julia, Iowa, Lucas, and Tichy also reached the. As the tournament progressed, the martial arts students continued racking up perfect scores, rising. Professor Shigert smiles discreetly at the results. A proctor announces that the detailed inspection found no issues with the magic beasts or the barrier space. An older man praises their martial arts skills, but questions why the division scores are so. One proctor suggests the beasts were already scared by attacks from the mage class students, but his colleague. The older man explains that since it's the martial arts division's first tournament, the students fighting up close. He decides that the martial arts division will go first next year, but current scores will stand. Greg protests, shouting that this means the martial arts division will tie for first place with the elite division. Professor Shigert watches him from afar. Greg retreats, arguing about the fairness of the result. But the older man simply states that luck is part of a person's skill. Another director agrees that it's not the student's fault and the scores cannot be discarded. Then, Director Otani orders Greg to announce the results. Greg watches Shigert and Linda walk away. The two directors continue their conversation near the beast cage. One states, this is a critical issue for the division's existence, and asks the other if he knows what's really happening. Director Otani replies that he cannot share the details, but he promises it's. He decides he will stick to the plan and act like the boy's abilities aren't real, just as he wants. Kai celebrates his perfect score euphorically, saying he needs to tell his dad immediately. As they walk down the hallway, his classmates comment that taming the beasts wasn't that hard. They must have gotten stronger. A door closes behind them. Now, sitting down, Kai asks his friends what they'll do with the 20 bonus points they earned for first place. Collins replies he'll save his. He needs to be ready for emergencies. His friend retorts that the obvious answer is to buy high-quality materials for. Lucas, holding his drink, asks about the combat training. Kai mentions the Allen Tower, the exclusive proving ground of the Allen. He explains that inside, there's an illusory world full of beasts, where you can gain combat experience without real danger. Collins worries because only 100 freshmen can enter. He wonders if they'll get one of the 88 remaining spots since the elite division has 12 guaranteed, but Kai. Since they all got perfect scores, their entry is guaranteed because selection. Suddenly, a chair scrapes back. Kai asks where they're going. Collins replies he's heading to the material shop to buy training equipment. Lucas watches his two friends dash down the hallway. Lucas sips his drink, affirming to himself that making sure everyone got a perfect score in the. Kai approaches Lucas and suggests they visit the material shop too, but Lucas declines the offer. Suddenly, a pendant swings in front of Kai. Lucas grabs it, saying he wants a better look at the pendant Professor Shigert gave him earlier. Lucas holds the Fong pendant. He complains, since he was one rank lower, the prize should have gone to Tichy. Lucas replies that his only talent is pure luck. Kai sighs in resignation. He decides to meet the others at the shop and Lucas waves goodbye. The scoreboard congratulates the martial arts department. All members achieved perfect scores. A female student stomps the ground hard. It's Lila, Greg's student. She claims they needed top scores for the third straight year to become the elite class. She asks if anyone has any idea how hard her father worked over the last decade to. She hurls an object at the scoreboard. A classmate adds that they also stole 20 spots in the Allen Tower. Another agrees, insisting those spots belong to the mages. A student mentions the magical beast-based professor said the martial arts students didn't cheat. Then, one of the mage students throws his own object at the board. He claims he heard the martial arts department bribed the teachers. Another agrees it's possible. For the son of the Tarawi family, a bribe would be nothing. Then, Andre, another of Greg's students, reveals he just saw the Tarawi heir. He says the guy bought the last piece of training equipment at the campus supply store. A student worries that once the martial arts department gets their bonus points, they'll buy up all the. Lila grips her staff. She suggests it might be time to deal with their little growth spurt. An object is hurled through the trees. He strikes the ground in front of Collins and Sharp. Collins falls to the ground. Hit. He needs to recover quickly. He turns to his opponents and offers points in exchange for help. Both boys are struck down and hit the ground. Lying on the ground, Collins asks the reason for the attack. Lila approaches Collins. He claims her demand is simple. Holding a vial, she orders him back to the martial arts department. She tells him to tell his entire class that they are inferior. The sun finally sets on the horizon. A few hours later, Lucas and Kai search the forest for their friends, calling out their names. Kai questions Lucas' worry. Lucas simply replies that today is different. He stops in front of a road. He says he feels something is very wrong here. The sense of danger intensifies. He suddenly bolts through the forest, leaving Kai behind. An injured hand on the ground reaches out toward them. Barely conscious, Kai approaches their fallen friends and asks who did this. Lucas kneels down and holds one of them. He whispers Lila's name. He says they were hit internally. Kai yells his friend's name. He checks Sharp's condition, but Lucas reassures him. He says he's still alive, just unconscious. Lucas provides first aid to Collins and asks Kai to go get some potions. The boy runs through the forest to do it. Holding his other friend's arms, Lucas realizes he was targeted by a dangerous technique. He suffered severe damage. He identifies the method used and clenches his fist. It's a serious attack. On the ground, Collins calls for his parents, crying out in pain. Lucas looks at his injured friend. He comforts him, shouting Lucas' name. The girl asks if their friends were attacked. Lucas says their lives aren't in danger, but they will need to rest for a few days. Hands him a bag and swears he will never forgive those responsible. Titian announces she will go to the student council tomorrow. Kai questions if they will listen, since the teachers are already ignoring the case. Titian observes the expression on his face. She realizes he seems like a different person, not the calm and gentle Lucas she knew. He declares that he will definitely solve this. Shortly after they arrive at the student council room, Theodore Palamo listens to their report. He asks if they want to have a duel with the students from Professor Greg's class. He demands an apology from their opponents if they win. Theodore questions the lack of proof. He asks if the S-rank bonus refers to the pendant he's holding. Lucas and Kai watch the object. He lets the pendant drop to the floor and apologizes, saying his hand slipped. Theodore suggests that betting something so cheap seems a bit dull for such an important duel. He expresses his anger as Lucas holds him back. Lucas asks what would be considered an appropriate bet. He comments that it should be something exclusive to this school. Having an idea, Theodore leans forward. He suggests they bet their entrance qualifications for the Allen Tower. The proposal is that the losing side permanently forfeits the right to enter the tower. Lucas accepts the terms of the challenge. The duel was set for 2 days later. The dissatisfied freshmen cheered for Greg's class. Shigard, on the other hand, said nothing. On the scheduled day, a large crowd gathers in the arena to watch. The crowd shouts that those three are fighting for the martial arts department. Lila says that if they give up now, she might consider it. A voice announces for both sides to prepare for the duel. Andre adjusts his glasses, holds his staff, and prepares for the clash. Then, the duel begins. Kai advances while Andre casts his spell. Andre can't believe his opponent dodged every single attack. Kai asks if that's all he has to show. Kai Taroi dodges the incoming projectiles. Grinning, Andre simply adjusts his glasses. He claims Kai hasn't even realized he's fallen into a trap. His feet are freezing to the ground. Andre warns there is no escape now. He bids his opponent farewell. Andre slams his staff hard against the floor. The impact resonates through the massive ice structure. He states this is what happens when you provoke a mage. Injured. You're gonna, Andre demands Kai speak up if he wants to surrender. She offers to let him live if he admits defeat right now. Irritated, Lucas Ryan asks how long she intends to keep talking. But Kai, holding an object, asks if the opponent's ice magic can freeze lava from the. Lila calls him an idiot. Lucas yells for him to run and get out of there. A massive explosion rocks the center of the arena. He realizes it was lava slime and questions Kai's intentions. He lands a decisive blow to the chest, shattering a magic circle. Andre reacts with pain to the impact. In the audience, someone shouts that a martial artist injured a mage. Another spectator points out Kai's leg is severely injured from the explosion. He says that Kai sacrificed his own mobility just to escape and has a lot of guts. Grinning, Kai states that the moment he broke the spell, his opponent left himself completely vulnerable. Andre wonders how he could be injured by a mere martial artist. Then he shouts that with injured legs, Kai can't dodge and tells him to give up. From the stands, Lucas Ryan throws another object toward the arena. The flask explodes mid-air, creating a distraction. Kai continues charging through the smoke. He leaps